Hi, Ariana. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. So tell us a little bit about you. Where do you live?
So I am based in Las Vegas, Nevada. I have lived here actually my whole life. I went to college at San Diego State, and
Nice.
then moved back home. And I've been a type 1 diabetic since I was 10 years old. I was diagnosed week before Thanksgiving. Pretty average symptoms of losing a lot of weight, drinking a lot of water. My mom ended up calling my aunt, who's a pediatrician, and she was like, "Yeah, you should probably take her into the ER." So I was admitted for 4 days. The main thing I was concerned about is if I could still have popcorn chicken from KFC. And I could. I just remembered like watching Disney Channel when I was in the room, and my parents were injecting insulin into an orange and all that
How
jazz.
old were you?
10.
You were 10, and it was right
Yes.
before Thanksgiving.
It'll be my 20-year anniversary this year.
Oh my gosh. So what was the actual day?
The 18th
Oh my goodness. I
of
can't.
November.
Thanksgiving is like literally the worst time because
Yeah.
there's so many carbs.
Well, I totally didn't remember when I was diagnosed, and so I ended up having a few years ago after I like started my blog and everything, and I realized that people celebrated a diaversary. I was like, oh, I should probably remember which day it is. So I called the hospital and found out it was the 18th. So
Oh, that's
pretty new to
cool.
celebrating diaversaries. Yeah,
That's cool. I mean, I guess they would have that history, but that's cool that you did that.
yeah, it's cool they gave it to me.
What year was that? Do you know?
2003, I think.
Okay.
That would
Okay.
make sense.
And then,
Yeah.
so what did they do? I'm assuming they put you on like MDI first.
Yep, I had vials of insulin where I think I mixed NPH and Novolog, and I don't even remember what they did because I also like was so young that my parents really handled it, but carried a cooler bag everywhere we went, even to dinner, and I had to like warm up my insulin vials
Oh
in
my
my hands
God.
before taking insulin, and everything was stored at the nurse's office. I in elementary school I got to go eat in the nurse's office sometimes, and I always got to bring a friend with me. So everyone wanted to eat with me in the nurse's office.
Okay, so this, yeah, that's interesting. So what was that like? Did you give it to yourself when you were in school?
I didn't well, no, the nurse gave me injections. It wasn't until I think my first or second year going to diabetes camp. I started going, I think when I was 11. We have a local camp for spring break here, and then we have one in California through the Nevada Diabetes Association. And it wasn't, I think, until my first or second year where I finally got the courage to give my own injection.
I get it though. I was just a counselor at one of the camps, and
Mhm.
I give those kids props because I cannot imagine being diagnosed at that age.
Yeah. I mean, even you were diagnosed 2 years ago. So as an adult, having to kind of just be like, okay, I guess I have to do this. I don't really have a buffer time to be scared.
Yeah, you're right. I had no one helping me. It was just me. You learn a lot faster that way, though, maybe.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
had to, so I learned it pretty quick. But
Yeah, a lot of people always ask, oh, was it like really hard to be diagnosed when you were younger? And I think honestly, I just quickly accepted that, like, okay, this is how my life is now. Like, I really don't remember pushing back all that much as a 10-year-old. I mean, it was annoying. We would go over, like, my aunt would give my cousin, all of these snacks during the day and not understand that I couldn't participate in a Pop Tart at 10 a.m. after already having breakfast. Like at the time when I was on like very strict, oh, that's another thing. When I was younger, I was really on very strict kind of like eating schedules. So I always ate at 8:30 in the morning and then again at noon. And then having my morning snack at a specific time. And my amount of carbs that I could have was really regimented as well. I don't know if it's still like that after you get diagnosed, but
they tried, I feel like they tried to tell me that, but I didn't really follow it. I
yeah.
mean, when I was first diagnosed, I just didn't know what I was allowed to eat because I didn't really, I mean, now I know I can eat anything, but I wasn't sure if I was supposed to give up certain things. I mean, I think we just need to be taught more nutritional facts.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's super in depth. about all of the things. That's why you find the diabetes community online.
Seriously, I mean, they literally were just like, here, you have to start taking insulin, and that's it. I'm like, I don't even know what insulin is.
Yeah,
Like,
I would have way too many questions.
so I'm curious, and this might be a deep question, but like, did you ever feel out of place, like different and out of place and not normal
Yes.
during
Mhm.
school?
Yes, I remember like vividly in 6th grade. So kind of like a few years after I had it, I started getting into my adolescence and growing up and puberty. And I remember being in my English class, which it was at the time that I had to take my morning snack. And I always had mini muffins for my morning snack. And like my teacher, I think, said something that was kind of like, "Oh, she has to eat a snack." I think she probably said something like she's different or something,
Mm.
and it made me feel like a spotlight was shown on me, and then everyone would always stare at me, and I would feel so uncomfortable because I just felt, so foreign in my own body. And then I hated grow like when I started talking to boys and
Right.
thinking that I didn't want to be looked at as so weird. Because I don't know, when I was younger, I thought diabetics were so weird. And I just felt like I didn't relate to them at all.
Uh-huh.
But that's who I am.
You bring up so many good topics. I just have so many questions.
No.
What was dating like? Because
Oh my gosh.
I get it. I have another friend. I remember she is a diabetic and she didn't tell her boyfriend for I think like almost a year. She like hid it because she was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And nobody should be, but I get
Mhm.
it. So that's why I'm curious how dating was.
Oh yeah. So I started like I've been MDI my whole life. I switched to pen. Well, first I was on my vials of insulin, multiple daily injections that way. And then I switched to an insulin pump in high school very briefly for only a year. And I did not like it because I felt like it was a device that was on me that showed that I was different, and I did not like any cute boys looking at it. I like didn't want it ripping off if I was like kissing a boy and whatnot. And so beyond other things of just like being attached to something,
Mhm.
pumps are a hot topic with me, but which I'm gonna be going on once. But anyways, so I got off of it, and then I've just been on MDI or on pens, basically since high school. And when I started dating a little more, it was like fine in college. I kind of go into every relationship and I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm a type 1 diabetic. It's cool. I know how to manage it. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And with my now husband, on our first date, we had sushi. And I remember like, I really didn't, we texted like a little bit before our first date. We were introduced by mutual friends. And it wasn't until we were kind of sitting down at our date and I'm like, oh, just so you know, like I'm type 1 diabetic. I'm gonna have to take some insulin. Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. Just like letting you know if I whip out a needle, that's why. And he was like, okay, he didn't really know anything about it. And so he was like, whatever, that's fine. And he, was great. I actually have like a full blog post that he and I have now done, like interviewing him about how his thoughts that day and like how to best support me. And he's been really great about that. But scary, opening up and being like, hey, this is who I am. And it's not a grandparent's disease. And here's what to do in case of emergency.
I still don't know how to talk about it. Like I still struggle when I'm introduced to somebody new. I don't know, but yeah, I can't imagine having to do it like on a date, but that's how you know he was the one. I mean, if he would have treated you differently, you would have been like, see it, dude.
Yes, and that's like where I was at that point in my life. I was kind of like before I met him, like the few months prior, I just was meeting duds, and not that anyone was like really weird about the diabetes. I just knew it was the point of my life where like if you do not support, and like really truly enjoy who I am as a person, then you are just not for me. And my diabetes was something that was in there.
Yeah, it's part of you.
I just heard horror stories from people and of like the way that people try to make them feel terrible about their management, and like it's such a fine line between like supporting and judging, and to find someone who can really understands fully what support is versus placing blame. Yeah, I feel like I've lucked out.
And it stinks because it's like the society and the media that's, makes other people think that, like, all the, I mean, not to call it type 2s because they also struggle, but it's, type 2 diabetes, which kind of screws up everything for type 1s.
Yeah, I mean, it's the misunderstanding of the disease in general. Like, yes, the types of them, but even like just from the perspective of saying, oh, diabetes is going to get, or sugar is going to give you diabetes, it's just like, it's not true. It's so many things beyond that. And a lot of times it's hereditary, even for type 2s. So it's just like
Hmm.
really, pulling apart and taking apart this joke that's not funny. Where's the punchline? Um, for so many people, it's like, oh God, I could speak years upon years about that. It's so hard to try to people. And that's why, that's why I post all my experiences online, is because if I can get one person to look at diabetes as not something that all of us did to ourselves, and teach them a little bit more and spread a little bit more awareness, then it's worth it. And maybe someday we'll live in a world where everyone understands it. It's highly unlikely, but at least we're changing one mind at a time.
Yes, I love it. And I love people that post and share. I think it's great. And like I said, even for new diabetics, you're one of the first people I found. So it helped me just get through the first year. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I really like the fact that I've always tried with my Instagram and my platform is to, one, make it helpful for others that are living with type 1 and type 2, and or know somebody, it really for an education community purpose, but also like the education purpose of those who do not live with it, and still find it interesting. I really like making that balance.
Because that's your main Instagram too, right? You don't have like
Yep.
another
Yep.
one. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Love it.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, there's no way that I'm gonna bounce between two Instagrams. I struggle with it on my my business page as it is for my shop. So this
Yeah,
is
no,
the only one I have. So you're getting lifestyle, you're getting diabetes, you're getting
I think
all of
that's
it.
great because then you do have followers that don't have diabetes.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So I think
Yeah,
that's
my majority do, but every time I meet someone new, I'm like, here I am, like you're gonna get some diabetes content, but you're also gonna get like the milestones in my life. And I post all about my wedding on my Instagram, and I posted like, you're really just getting everything Ariana.
yeah, I love it. Yeah, congrats on your wedding too.
Thanks. I
When was
can't
that? I was
believe
like, is it almost a year already?
Yeah, it was in September. So I can't believe it. I spent so much of my life planning a wedding, and now it's over. It's great.
Just like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still missing content from like, oh, I never shared about this. Maybe I should do that. Is it too late?
I also have to say I love your bachelorette recaps and bachelor recaps.
Oh, yeah. Didn't that I don't think a lot of people are watching The Bachelor anymore. So that the viewership of those really went down versus the time it took to make them every Tuesday.
Yeah, I know. I don't watch anymore, but they were funny.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks. If it ever becomes big again, maybe that's an outlet I can do.
So, okay, you brought up your business. Tell us about your business.
So I am the founder of Cup of OJ Creative, which is my small business, which started out as a blog. It's so let me just go back from the beginning. So a few years ago, kind of when I started posting on Instagram, I saw my first people that I started following, I think, Gretchen from Type 1 Type Happy. She was one of the first that I found. I just randomly one day was like, let's look up type 1 diabetes online. And this is after living with it for like 15 years at this point. And I found this whole great community, and I was like, I love social media. I was in marketing, and I'm like, I could do this. So I started sharing a lot more, and I was like, I was interested in blogging and all of that stuff. So I made my blog. My website's cupofoj.com. And I had a lot of like, what is diabetes? Some terminology. What's it like living with diabetes? Here's what I eat. Here's what I do. Low carb cocktail recipes. And then when the pandemic hit, I was furloughed, and I kind of thought to myself, well, I got nothing going on for the next few months. Like, let's really dive in. I've been an artist my whole life. So I just started designing products for those living with diabetes. kind of just things that I feel were missing in the market of options of items for us to enjoy. When I was younger, there was really no merch or things geared toward people like me. I don't think there are is anything for, ladies in their 20s to 40s that is fashionable that makes us feel seen and a part of a community. So I really wanted to make something like that. So I started using my art and making different items like shirts and pouches and stickers and mugs, to make us feel connected through our community, of those living with type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes. I eventually would love to expand to other chronic illnesses and really just be a place where people can go and feel seen. And that's on at my shop, shopcupofoj.com.
Look at that pitch. That was great. I love it.
Yes,
And your
they
stuff
are.
is so cute. Like, once again, no offense to the other creators out there, but like your stuff is the most trendy and
Oh
cute.
my God. Wow, thanks.
Well,
I need that
like
feedback.
I feel like a lot of stuff is very healthcare related. Like
Yes.
very just, I don't know. Like yours is more fun.
Yeah, and a lot of it is kid
Lifestyle.
related, which I totally get, being geared towards kids, but I'm not a kid. And as much as I think designs with snowflakes and basketballs and things like that are fun, I'm not going to wear that. So I wanted to make things that I can see myself wearing that are like cute and expressive and colorful, that kind of, fun adults can also enjoy.
You've been going to like markets to do it, right?
Yeah, I actually had my first in-person market last November, and I was really nervous because a lot of my stuff, is geared towards people living with diabetes, and I knew that my percentage of people who would visit me at an in-person local market probably does not have diabetes, but everybody knows someone. I also do pet portrait stuff, so people love that. And a lot of my products, like what I do enjoy is that I'm spreading awareness for those living with diabetes, but I'm doing it in a way where anyone can enjoy my products. Like I have a keychain that says, "Don't forget the snacks." Or I have the rock on symbol that has the blood drop in the index finger. But like you really have to look closely to see that. I have a Never Stop Exploring design, which features a girl hiking in the mountains and she happens to be wearing a CGM and a pump. But the amount, like, that sticker is one of my most popular stickers, and I think that people just don't notice that the girl's wearing diabetes devices.
It's just like a mole or something.
It's like, whatever, she just has something weird on her arm, it's a tracking device.
Plus, the finger prick could be any like healthcare professional.
Yeah. Oh, I love when nurses visit my booth because they always understand everything. I have one of my stickers is, "I am diabetic, hear me beep." And I when someone laughs at that, I know that they're either a diabetic or they're a nurse in
Yeah.
the healthcare field, and I love it.
So this is your main gig, right?
Oh yeah. So I basically, my income comes from my Instagram, doing collaborations with brands that I trust and that I love. I have my shop, which is my other main source of income. The markets have been great this year, and I'm hoping to just expand. My goal this year is really brand awareness. I would like everyone who has diabetes in this nation, hopefully the world someday, to know that they can find cute products on shopcupofoj.com. And then I also do some social media, graphic design, contract work, which helps with everything else.
Sure. Yes, I get it. And so I'm assuming orange juice is your favorite little snack.
Yes.
Yeah, it's your
Yeah,
go-to.
I do. I'm so Cup of OJ, yeah, the name obviously has come from what I always drank. My lowest go-to low snack as a child was always a cup of OJ. Anytime I'm at home, if I'm going low and it seems like it's kind of dropping quickly, I'll have my cup of OJ, and it worked out really well.
I appreciate that because I actually don't really like orange juice.
What about apple juice? Any juice?
I,
Mango?
I'm an apple juice gal, but orange juice, I've never been a fan of it.
I
Yeah.
have my apple juice next to me in case I got low during this podcast, but My sugar was high this morning, so I took a lot of insulin before this.
Yeah, that's the worst if it drops during a call.
Yeah.
But mine's glucose tablets. I think just
Oh,
because
see, you're under the 5-year mark, so yeah, you enjoyed those for a few more years.
I really like the raspberry ones. It tastes like a sweet tart to me.
Yeah, yeah, they're good. I have these flashbacks of my mom carrying them in her car, and like if I don't have them within they're always expired, and she just like had them in her pocketbook for
I'm
years.
like, wait, I should probably check mine. I've never checked the expiration. Oh
I mean, I
gosh.
don't think it matters, you know. I survived many expired glucose tabs.
Have you ever had a really low experience? Like scary low?
I've had one. I've never had to use a glucagon, knock on wood, but I don't remember what happened. I think I just maybe gave too much insulin and I was just dropping really quickly. It was a couple years ago, but I remember I went down, I think, to 24. Yeah, and I just remember like I'm very thankful that my husband was there, but I was just sitting on the couch and I was like shoveling honey into my mouth and just like letting it dissolve, and it was like pretty scary. Luckily, like I think I had a little bit of low anxiety after that, but I've been pretty good thus far. I definitely hate going low and always try to treat ahead of time, but it's hard.
It is hard, but it makes it easier with CGMs now.
Yeah, yeah. My Dexcom is a savior. Yeah, the Dexcom just I'm a very numbers, well, not mathematical, but I do enjoy some analytics in my life. So I love like being able to see things prior to it happening and all that jazz, and it just kind of helps me. Like I didn't get a CGM until 16 years into my diagnosis.
Mm.
Like I went through college without a CGM, which I don't know how I survived. I went to a party school. Like things were experienced and I made it. For some reason, I
We're
never
still
forgot to take
here.
my nightly insulin, which I
So did
pride
you
myself on.
carry around like
Oh
your
yeah,
meter?
I was on pens. I brought
Yeah.
my pens every. Actually, yeah. I mean, I would assume so. I hope so. I carried my meter around and just tested whenever, but I learned a lot of things
Here.
and
You're
had
here.
do a lot of things in college alongside managing my diabetes.
I can't imagine college too. When I was thinking about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, college. I mean, college was crazy.
Oh
And then
yeah,
throwing diabetes into the mix.
yeah. I went to San Diego State.
Yeah. Yes.
It was fun, but yeah, so I think about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just didn't know. And I always cared about taking care of my numbers, but like I never rebelled and just decided to not, like a lot of teenagers sometimes. And I think a lot of times when you're diagnosed at a later age, you kind of, there's no acceptance with it. You just are like, I'm not dealing with this. And a lot of times when you go through puberty, I think like you can kind of get stubborn and not want to deal with something anymore, especially when you're away from your parents and things like that. Yeah, I could have been better, I think, at testing my numbers and calculating, but I still tested and gave insulin.
That's
But
good.
after having a CGM, it was definitely like night and day. A1C change stayed lower, so that's always nice.
And are you on G7 now?
Yeah.
You like
Yes.
it?
Yeah, I like it. I like how small it is. Sometimes the adhesive is like a little like I had to put on the over patch a few days into it, which I don't love. I've always liked not having a patch until I absolutely needed one for my G6. And then this one it's kind of like a little more sensitive with Bluetooth ranges. So like if my phone, like I feel like on the G6 you really got away with walking downstairs or away from it and then coming back. It didn't really tell that it was an issue, but this one is kind of like a little more finicky. But other than that, I feel like it's more accurate. I like the smaller size. The warm up time is 25 minutes is amazing.
I have to change that literally right after this. So 2 hours
Yeah.
down the drain.
Are you on the G7?
G6 still.
Yeah. And also this one, like it's doesn't hurt at all. I don't know, the incision, like I've never felt it at all, which is kind of cool.
That is very cool.
I do have
I
some
need to switch. I'm on MDI too, so I can switch.
yeah, yeah. I'm planning we are getting a little closer to starting a family, and so I'm going to be getting on the Omnipod in a few months at my next appointment, and I am not excited about it. I mean, I'm
Okay,
excited about it because it's new, but like,
this is such a great topic because within the next year or so, I would also like to start a family, and all the doctors say to go on a pump,
mhm.
but we also don't have to. So that's I'm curious why you're making that decision.
We don't have to either. I've talked to many women who have stayed on MDI the whole time. I just want something that, like, I'm pretty proud of my A1C. I'm in the sixes, which I'm good with. I would just, I don't know. I see that when I have a food item and I go, like, for example, I tried this new oats thing that my husband bought and that he's trying for breakfast. So I tried it this morning and I like gave insulin 20 minutes beforehand. I calculated for everything and my sugar is 259 right now. After taking insulin, seeing myself go up and doing squats and trying to get it to work in my body. And I just would prefer something that's like a little more on it.
Sure.
So I'm hoping like I might, depending on the timing of everything, I don't know if I'm going to, I also don't, I'm not like crazy knowledgeable about the Omnipod, but I do know that the G7 is not connected via the loop right now. So I don't know if I'd start it without the loop and just try doing it myself or go back to the G6 until the G7 works.
Yeah.
Kind of taking it day by day.
I'm with you though. I'm at the same point where I'm like, I don't really want to be on one, but like if it's necessary, sure. But like, I
Yeah.
don't.
I think my biggest scare is like right now, if my sugar's high or I like have ketones, like I don't get ketones very often. I always have insulin in my body because I'm always injecting it myself. I know that it's going in, I know that it's being delivered. So I think my biggest scare is like whenever I see people post that, oh, I accidentally haven't been getting, my pump, whatever thing was kinked and it's not putting insulin into my body. And so I haven't been getting insulin the past X amount of hours. And now I feel so sick and terrible. And
That is
you
so funny you just brought that up because I see those all the time too. And I'm like, wait a second, why would I go on a pump? Like,
don't have to deal with that. And also like, how was sleeping?
that is so funny because I think that all the time too. I'm like, people are just posting the bad times. I think most times
Yeah,
that's
yeah, of course. But like also, I don't know, I love the freedom of my
Mhm.
insulin. I can just take it, put it in a bag, and take it with me. If I have a trip coming up, I just take an extra pen with me and some more pen needles. Like thinking about what time of day that I have to stop and put a new device on my body, and that is too much thinking.
So you think after like your pregnancy, you would go back to MDI probably, unless you love it. Unless you love it.
Unless I love it. Unless I love it. But I also don't want to like I think because I've been on MDI for so long, I'm also just like in the lazy mindset of like, I know how to do this. I don't want to switch to something else and have to deal with a new learning curve. And so I don't want to forget how to do MDI. So who knows?
That's a good
It's
point.
really just what works for me and what I'm motivated enough to do.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let you go so you can go do some jumping jacks or go
Yeah.
run around the block or whatever you need to do. That's my go-to. I just go do a quick
Oh,
sprint around the block.
2:48 now. We're coming around.
That insulin's kicking in. Any advice you'd give to somebody newly diagnosed?
Yes, it is a big learning curve and it is a life change, but type 1 diabetes or diabetes will not stop you from living a lifestyle that you can be proud of and you can truly enjoy. I truly believe that, you know, I try to never let my chronic illness stop me from enjoying the things that I want to do. You can still go to a music festival, you can still go out with your friends, you can still travel the world. There just is a little more prep that needs to be taken into consideration. And if you haven't already, find the online community because everyone's experiences are a wealth of knowledge. And sometimes, doctors just won't tell you what to pack when you're going hiking or what to think about when you go into a new situation. Or so I love my diabetes community online and feel like everyone truly has each other's backs, and it's a wealth of knowledge.
Love it. Well said.
Great.
So how do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Ariana Frayer. One N. It's spelled like Ariana Grande. Store is at Cup of OJ Creative. You can find my blog at cupofoj.com, and then my shop is shopcupofoj.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was great chatting with you.
You too.